Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode 28 of Stuff of the Week, where every week or so I go over the assorted stuff that I read or watched or did in the past week or so, give or take a day. Um, as you saw, that was Mongo and Tiberius adventures this week. They went to their vet for the first time and got their rabies vaccine and were just adorable and everybody loves them. They're running around and being rambunctious. Mongo's taken to napping in the corner there, but he's not in here right now. He and Tiberius are running up and down the hallway, annoying Simon and Alexia, who also appeared in that video there. And I love the little like, huh? Look she gave me while I was videoing. I did get chastised for allowing uh, Mongo and Tiberius to stay in the dryer and not immediately remove them. Always check your appliances before running them because cats will sneak in, and there have been numerous occasions in the past. We almost lost one cat many years ago, about 10 years ago, it seems, to when he crawled into the front loading washing machine and we didn't catch it. And it was only when we noticed he wasn't around the house that he was, he was very lucky. He used up one of his 9 lives that day. But and he smelled really nice for the rest of the day. He had nice lavender smell to him, like a detergent. But he was fine. Um, that was Lafayette, our first orange cat. He passed away when he was struck by a car about four 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. It was like it was during the pandemic. So, um, and yeah, I was in control of the vehicle at all times when videoing the cats. I was at the light and I was like that. And I was holding it in the thing, so I just held it like this while I was driving everything, and I didn't even look at Mongo. I was hoping that it was like I'm like either that or I'm just getting like the roof of the car for that, and then he comes in front of me and I'm like this and that. It looks like it creates the illusion because the camera's recording it that you're looking, but I want to make sure that I want everybody knows that I am a responsible cat dad. I am not irresponsible. Although I was chastised about the dryer. That will not happen again, but it was too cute to pass up. But I remind everybody, please check your appliances. I did not know until I was talking with the vet that washers and dryers and dishwashers are, you know, they kill a lot more pet cats than one would think because people don't double trip. They don't think to check, and the cat will get in and boom. So now let's get on to some fun stuff. Uh, we went to New York past weekend. I already did the book haul video because that was like I think I um, uh, bought. I don't know. I bought way more than I'll ever. I bought a lot. You can look at that video on in the book haul playlist. And oh, hi, speak of the devil, and they appear. Look at this. It's Tiberius. Say hi, Tiberius. He says, Daddy. Why so serious, Tiberius? Ooh, there you go. Yeah. Um, let's see, where was I? Oh, before I get to New York, I should actually talk about the puzzles. I finished The Shining Twins. and that's already been disassembled and boxed up. And I bought, as I mentioned in the book haul video, I bought the Bodega Cat New Yorker cover for puzzle, and that's the next one. I was like, boom, I'm doing this one. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Um, Reading wise, nothing much to report. I'm over halfway done through the Roads of Rome, or the Roads to Rome, and I've about 120 pages left of this because like a lot of nonfiction books and stuff, it's like uh, n- um, there's like a good 100 or so pages of like notes and bibliography and references and stuff. But I got about 120 pages, and I'll do a review when I finish it because I don't want to half buttocks it. But that hopefully will be discussed in the next episode. The only other reading I did was issue number 27 of Vampirella, which was the penultimate issue that is in the, what is this, the fourth Vampirella archive. That There's a paper bag there that the cats like to play with. I don't know if that came up in the mic, but boom. Huh? But where was I? Oh yes, the fourth volume. This was the 27th issue was the first one that caught my attention. Although it kicked off with a um, annual that was also entirely reprints, with the exception of one Vampirella story. And issue 27 was entire reprints. There was, with the exception of the one Vampirella story. And because they were doing one story a piece, each issue in color, it turned out that this was Vampy's turn to be in color. And okay, the story is called Return Trip, and it is kind of like the last gasp of Vampirella and Pendragon's misadventures in New Orleans or Louisiana, where they got Pendragon got roped into going back and reuniting with his family, only to find that his family wanted to get rid of him because, if I'm remembering how the story was told, that his wife got tired of being married and she left him, and he drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and um, the child that they had, grew up to resent Pendragon for whatever reason. I don't know. They married some other guy. I think she left him for some other guy. And Pendragon's wife. And, they just want to torture Pendragon for their poor decisions. I just really didn't get the story. And the girl, his daughter, had married a mafiosa. They shoot Vampy up with like cocaine or something like that. She goes on a blood drinking spree and whatnot. And this this story, which is entitled "Return Trip," basically the previous entry had Vampirella returning to her senses, the survivors of everything basically kicking Pendragon to the curb, and he goes to drown his sorrows in a bar while Vampy runs off with, excuse me, Adam Van Helsing and Professor Van Helsing to kind of like, recuperate. And they both receive, both Vampirella and Pendragon receive telegrams uh, from each other. So Vampirella receives a telegram from Pendragon. Pendragon receives a telegram from Vampirella saying, "Hey, come here, help me. We're gonna, But it's of course, his family, Pendragon's family, doing it yet again. So while it's called Return Trip, it's also calling Return to the Well one time too many, because here we have, instead of being shot up with cocaine by mafiosas, you actually have like this ESP guy, this dreamer. I don't know. I think he popped up in another story or something, but he was, you know, he shows up and tries to like mind meld with Vampirella and convince her to kill Pendragon. And it's, the art's good. And, it wasn't boring, but it was very repetitious. And I'm really hoping that this is the end of this particular arc, and that they can go on, because it's like, this is a point where it's like, okay, they wrapped up every possible loose end or dangling thread here, so they can move on and do something else. And I'm hoping so. And we'll see when I read the last issue that's in this particular edition. My brain not braining very well today. But yeah, and then I'll move on to volume 5, which I have. And there you are. There you have it. And that was the reading. Trail camera wise, it's been quiet, but the coyotes wandered back and forth over the course of a few nights. So there is that. Okay, now I'm going to go back and close down with our trip to New York. This was, I've already talked about going to Brooklyn, to going to the Twisted Spine, and then we go over to, I believe it was Union Square, where we went to the Strand bookstore and Max Brenner's for brunch, and uh, this, that, and the otter. So I'm going to talk about what we usually do when we go to New York, which is usually we go see a lot of Broadway shows. I married into a I was a theater kid. I enjoyed going to theater, and I was in theater when I was a much younger man. No beard, but a really bad case of acne. It was in high school, and I was in I was tech for um, uh, what was it? Company, this Stephen Sondheim musical, and I had a small talking roles in Sweet Charity. I was the doorman. No soliciting, please. I remember that line. And I was also the cop at the beginning and the guy that was like got stuck in an elevator. And although I really can't dance all that well, I was like dancing in the background. I was like kind of like, but I'm like really not really good at it. I would, but hey, man, it was fun. I was in the senior in high school and having a junior and senior in high school and having a grand old time doing that. That was with the I think they called it the American Community Theater there. So a lot of fun. But I digress. But that's what I like about this. I can digress. This was, let's see, we got in. The first show we went and saw was Cats, the Jellicle Ball, which, let's see, I think I'm gonna, here, I have to still have the playbill for the production. And it's basically Cats, but the staging they did was not they did it as if it were a drag show. So the cats are drag performers, and they come out. There's a runway, and there's judges, and of course old Deuteronomy is the main judge. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great production. Uh, and great dancing, great songs, great music. It's Cats, but it was again that whole staging, and I'm sure it will go on tour, and no doubt will come to the San Francisco Bay Area because of the uh, queer history and uh, Stonewall. references that are made through, and the long and very um, detailed history that is with the gay community in theater. Yeah, I it was great. I had a catwalk cocktail, which was really good. We of course bought swag merchandise. I got my got the T-shirt here. Um, like I said, you can see there. We also got for the Christmas tree. We got the cat. This is going to have to go at the top of the tree because I know the cats in the house are going to love this. But this is the Jellicle ball ornament. Look at a little disco ball and the cat. Now, my one complaint about the show is that there is a disco ball that comes down, but it's just a disco ball. It's not shaped like a cat, and it should be shaped like a cat because it's, come on, guys. What is this? Anyway, that was a lot of fun on that regard. And the other thing that we got at the Jellicle Ball was a coffee mug, which has a lot of the cat disco balls there. So, and cats, the Jellicle Ball. And it was, yeah, no notes. Great show. I really, hello, Tiberius. And that was the first show we saw. That was on Friday night after I had gone to the Twisted Spine and whatnot. And hi, what you doing? Hmm. Now, the Saturday matinee was for me. Tanya went and saw Two Strangers Carry a Cake Across New York City, which is a whimsical musical love story. And she did buy me a pair of socks. That. Now, this is an interesting thing because usually we get magnets, and they do magnets for do. They do magnets, but I've noticed that more and more there are socks that are for show. I got Stranger Things: The Final Shadow socks. I got Just in Time socks. And I think I've got the Two Strangers socks. And but there was, interestingly enough, despite the themes in this play, there was no merch for Death of a Salesman. There's no magnets, no T-shirts, nothing. They didn't have anything, which is interesting. Um, Nathan Lane and Laurie Metcalf and Christopher Abbott and Ben Allers are all wonderful. I mean, it's a banger of a cast. It's a banger of a play, and it's just, it is, oh, it is so sad. But one thing I noticed, I'm going to see if I can find it here because this really interested me, was that the director, see if I can find it and verify. The, the director was, I don't know, I should have done this before. It was Joe Mantello, and I believe this was, yeah, Joe Mantello um, has, the director. He did. Oh yeah, he's directed Laurie Metcalf several times. They did Little Bear Ridge Road, which I missed, but they did Grey House together, and I did see Grey House, and which is a really creepy pseudo ghost story. He directed The Last Ship, Glenn Ross, Wicked, Assassins, which he won a Tony Award. Um, he directed The Boys in the Band, which had starred Zachary Quinto, which we did see when that was on. So, but this production was breathtaking and really emotionally draining. And poor Nathan Lane at the end when they were taking their curtain call out, the man looks like he's about ready to drop into a grave. He did talk about, he has done interviews about how exhausting this play is, and that it rivals, I think the Rhett play is King Lear in terms of the amount of lines and dialogue, monologues that need to be uh, memorized and acted out in this for the lead, and it's an exhausting and taxing uh, performance that you have to do 8 times a week um, for however long it's going to play. So where the production will go on. Now I did not get a picture of the theater when for the Saturday evening performance of Proof, which was in its last weekend. It was closing on. It was last. The Sunday matinee would have been the final performance, and for the show, because for whatever reason we forgot that it was the World Cup, final game of the World Cup, and oh my God. So it had rained on and off um, all day Sunday. Uh, but I had missed the torrential downpours, and I was like, "Ha!" But then I walked to Proof, which was at the Booth Theater, which was about a block down, and then you go up a block. We were at the Millennium Hotel, so we walked down to Times Square, hook a right, walk up a block, and then make a left, right where the Lion King is, and the Booth is just past. It's just down there. And I'm like, easy peasy, cake and pie. Let's do this. So I'm going down there. And then I get there, and about 320 million Argentinian football fans are out and about. Everybody was wearing the Argentinian jerseys with Messi on the back, and it was just, and we got, or we, I and about 5,000 people got caught in a crush on at the corner right where the Lion King was. And so you had a whole bunch of people who were like trying to get to the Lion King, and you had a whole bunch of people, I don't know, who were like maybe like waiting for the light or doing something because the part of the street was blocked off because of all of this. And I mean, it was just like it was, "Ugh." And I'm trying to get through too because I want to get to Proof, and right then, there's like the sound of like gunfire, which freaks out a couple of people, myself included, because it wasn't unexpected, but it was fireworks being set off, and then the skies opened, and about what felt like 42 gallons of water just comes down in sheets and sheets, drops that were like felt like they were like that big. They were just and I go down, and even though I run and I make pauses, by the time I got to the booth theater, I was soaking wet. But I go in, and I get a little cup of wine, to help, warm myself. And I think I'm going to get a magnet. They don't have magnets, but they did have socks. So I got Proof socks. And I saw a production of Proof at a community theater in Lafayette, and I really liked it. It was a great production, and it's a really solid, really great play. And when it started, I felt a little it felt a little off because I was bringing the memory of that past performance and the acting choices that were made by the performers there. Um, and Don Cheadle plays, of course, the mathematician father who has succumbed to mental illness, and his caregiver daughter, who was played by, Ayo Debris. Oh God, I'm sorry if I mangled that. But when at the very beginning, I thought, man, she really feels like shaky and uh, hesitant and like almost, I mean, she's vibrating with this discomfort that I'm like, oh my God, is she really ready? I mean, and it, and within about like a minute or two, it didn't take long, but within a minute or two, come on, guy. I realized that was her characterization. That was the choices she was making and how to communicate the emotional and intellectual distress that her character was going through. It was an excellent choice because she's a coi- tightly coiled spring of just PTSD and and grief and fear. And I will say that the play once again just took me on an emotional roller coaster ride, and I just again by the end I was like yeah, but there was a couple of moments when I was like just wanted to scream bloody murder, but because of what this character goes through. But yeah, it's a great play, great performances, and I'm very happy that I saw it. I would have actually, with the exception of Death of a Salesman, I think I would see every one of these performances again. This is closed, but I don't know. Death of a Salesman put me through the ringer. I don't know if I could. That one was, oh my God. And then um, last but certainly not least was the performance, the Sunday matinee performance of The Lost Boys, which is a ow, oh my God, what did you just do? Jump scare for kiddies. You attacking the microphone, Tiberius. What are you doing? You got me there. You got it in claws. You know what? What is this? What is this? Look at this. I has a fierce. Come on. What is this? Boy, everybody's a critic. Oh, so where was Lost Boys? Now, considering, I mean, okay, considering the technical requirements that are needed to put this production on, I think it's highly unlikely. It's like Stranger Things: The Final Shadow. I don't know if it'll tour or has the capabilities of touring because the amount of wire work that is done in it, because they do fly, and the set designs and the set changing. I mean, it was like movie sets. They were that detailed, and it is just it was really, really, really good. And it was also the first um, uh, show that I've ever seen that had a post credit sequence after the after everybody takes their bow and leaves and goes. There's a little cut scene at the end, which was really fascinating. I was like, wow, interesting. But I do think it was really great. The performances were great. The production design was great. The wire work was great. The story, it was the movie. And the problem with this, and there's actually a great line in it where one of the characters says, they're talking about Little Shop of Horrors, and they mentioned that because it's set in 1987, and they mentioned that Little Shop of Horrors was made into a movie, and I think it was released in '86 and everything. And one guy was like, they were going, hey, we can watch Little Shop of Horrors. We'll watch the original because honestly, taking an old movie and turning it into a musical just reeks of desperation, which is a nice meta tongue-in-cheek thing that had everybody in the audience laughing. Because obviously. But I think that what works on the big screen kind of like may not work on the stage, because I felt that the first act, and this is usually something that happens with a lot of musicals and a lot of plays, and especially musicals, though, is that the first act is really great. The second act is kind of like usually tinker. And afterwards, Tanya and I were both like, yeah, the second act of this was a mess. And I was talking with her and said, yeah, it opens and they kind of like they build up like this whole um, uh, the love interest between what's his name, David and Star and whatnot. But in the second act, that's when like the Frog Brothers and Max and everything, they all come together, and there's a lot of other stuff, and Star kind of like gets, and that whole the emotional journey of all of that kind of like gets discarded. So there's no there, the closure doesn't kind of land. But again, this is something that if you like the movie, you're gonna like this. It really does, it succeeds where I think a lot would fail. But unlike like say Little Shop of Horrors or something, I don't really see this uh, getting a substantive um, touring. It might play in some venues where it'll have to play in venues where the stage uh, crew area can handle all of the props and the wire work and uh, really just massive amounts of like sets and whatnot that they had to do to pull this off. But that was also, before I forget, because Tiberius has kind of broken my train of thought many times. I got Lost Boy socks, so I got some. I'll be able to wear these to the gym. They're as you can see, they're tube socks, 80s, totally tubular. And that, I think, will do it for this week's stuff. It's pretty abbreviated, or at least, I mean, for the usual. I mean, I saw like what, four shows. I went to bookstores and whatnot. Tanya and her friends, they all went and saw Just in Time. This was for Tanya was the second time. I'd seen it when Jonathan Groff was playing Bobby Darin, and I really wasn't in the mood to go see it again. So I just stayed back at the hotel and read, uh, you know, The Roads to Rome, and uh, packed, and wondering how the heck am I going to get all these books and things into my suitcase. But luckily, all fit, no problems. I did flirt because there was they still had this massive ad for Evil Dead Burn on Times Square. And I flirted with going to the Regal to go see it because I hadn't seen it yet. And I still haven't seen it. But I did a price check, and, or it was an AMC or a Regal at Times Square, but I was like, it was like $23. And, we're Cinemark Movie Club members. So I'm like, I can see it for $10 here in California. I could just drive down to Pleasant Hill or Walnut Creek to go see it. And I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if it was like a movie that wasn't playing in the Bay Area, if it was like, this is, but I think those days have come and gone in terms of like regional releases where, and there weren't any revival screens nearby that were showing anything of interest that I could find. But what else was there? Yeah, and we decided that next weekend we're gonna go see the Odyssey. See how that uh, see how that is. I'm of a mixed opinion on Christopher Nolan. My favorite Nolan movie was Inception. I loved it, but I'm not the biggest fan of his take on Batman. And I thought Interstellar was okay. I did like Oppenheimer and Dunkirk. I liked both of those, but I thought Tenet was almost unwatchable. So, I'm like, I don't know. And we'll see how he does with the Odyssey. I'm wondering if it'll be told out of sequence like he likes to do. He does like his narrative inversions and whatnot. So I do have hopes about the Cyclops scene. Everybody says it's like the criticisms that I've heard from like legit criticisms, not the culture war, you know, dorks, but real critics have talked about how intense the Cyclops scene is. So we'll see. That'll be next week, I hope. And yeah, there's a couple other things that I have planned for the future, but I'm going to hold off on announcing that until I finish the roads to Rome and get a have some just so I'll have some stuff to talk about next week. So that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed my little rambling. I hope you enjoyed Tiberius. Mongo's over there on the chair, just chilling like a villain. And yeah, I gotta go clean the house now. I gotta do housework, and I also have to read the last hundred or so pages of the roads to Rome. I'm about to hit up a chapter on Napoleon here, so I wonder if it's a short chapter. Anyway, until next time, let's all try to have some fun. All right, bye. Enough is never enough.